I would like to talk to you something about publication in peer-reviewed journal. How to get your paper published. Mainly, now I'm going to talk about choosing a journal, how to send your paper, then how to prepare the manuscript, how to submit a manuscript, and what goes on once you submit the manuscript, what goes on in the editorial office. Then, of course, publication ethics has already been covered. I'm not going to cover that again. Okay. Now, how will you choose a journal? Suppose you have written a paper. You have done a work. Now you would like to publish it. The first thing you have to do is, you have to choose a journal. So, which journal to send? First thing you have to see is scope of the journal. Well, you have done your work is on diabetes mellitus. You would like to present it in a diabetes journal, or sometimes, you may like to go for a general medical journal like Lancet, or no, if you think your work is very important. Your work is very important and should be known to everyone, and it should get wide, say, kind of coverage or publicity. Then you would like to go for BMJ or Lancet or NEJM. But at the same time, remember that these journals are very, very difficult to publish. Okay. Lancet, I think the acceptance rate is 8% or 5% for original article. It is 5% or 8% or some this thing. So it is 95% that you are not. There are 95% chances that your article will be rejected. Okay. So, well, maybe there are, say, if it is a very specialized one, you would like to, you are very keen to publish in a specialized journal, you will be sending your work for, say, a journal on diabetes mellitus. There are lots of journals, you will be sending to a specialized journal. So you have to find out what is the scope of the journal. You want to send something for Indian Journal of Pharmacology. You can't send, if your work is on, say, pharmaceutics or pharmacognosy, you cannot send it to Indian Journal of Pharmacology. Indian Journal of Pharmacology doesn't publish any article on pharmacognosy or pharmaceutics. So you have to choose a pharmacy journal. Then whether it is peer reviewed or not, whether the journal is peer reviewed or not. Why is it important? Well, there are, do you know that, there are journals which are not peer reviewed? Have you heard of any journal which is not peer reviewed? No. Or what do you mean by peer reviewing? Okay. Generally, journals, journal editors, they send it to, subject experts. Suppose, you write something on, say, Parkinsonism. Then, whoever is working on Parkinsonism, the list of those working on Parkinsonism, the editor will have a list. So, he will send the paper, send the manuscript to those experts and get it reviewed. So, that is what is called peer reviewing or peer reviewing. Now, there are journals, there are many journals which follow this process. That is sending it to experts in the same field, get it reviewed. But there are journals, which do not do this. Are you aware of those journals? Such journals, especially in-house journals. For example, some pharmaceutical company may be running a journal, and there is no peer review, nothing. Okay, they will publish whatever you get. Even other journals, even the journals which are not run by, say, pharmaceutical companies, those journals, what they do is, they simply go through it. The editor or the associate editor, they will go through it. He feels it is all right. He will immediately publish it. He doesn't get it vetted or reviewed by the peers. So those journals are not peer-reviewed journals. So why is it important that you should publish it in a peer-reviewed journal? Because naturally the impact is high. Whatever your conclusions are much more respected than if you publish in a non-peer-reviewed journal. And especially the indexing agencies such as Index Medicus or other indexing agencies, they will index the journal only if it is peer-reviewed. Otherwise, they are not willing to peer-review your journal. So it is better to publish in a peer-reviewed journal. Then indexed, if a journal is indexed or not. Suppose if the journal is not indexed by any indexing agencies, and there is no point in publishing it. Because maybe, mostly the in-house journals, the journals run by institutes, journals run by drug companies. So these journals, most of the times, they are not indexed by any indexing agencies. That is for, local circulation. You publish it, your work is not going to be read by outside world. It is not known to outside world. There is no point in publishing anything in a non-indexed journal. Well, generally, when you say indexed, people think of only PubMed. Okay, PubMed is not the only indexing agency. PubMed is one of the indexing agencies which is freely available on the net, so it is very popular. It is okay, it is good. I mean, if your journal is, whatever journal you want to send, your target journal is published, I mean, index by index Medicate is fine. But then there are other indexing agencies, there are lots of other indexing agencies which also, I mean, they have the presence on the net, sometimes, I mean, maybe for a fee. So that's why, I mean, they are not, the other indexing agencies are not popular. There are some agencies, well, in India, say ICMR and NIC, no, they have got MedInd, InMed and MedInd. So those agencies also index journals, especially Indian journals. If you see, there are some 38 or 40 journals are indexed by MedInd. Sorry? 75, okay, now it is, okay, number has increased, 75. And also you can get the full text also. Then popularity and impact factor. Popularity, a journal which is very popular need not have high impact factor, am I right? Or a journal which has got a highest impact factor, should it be very popular, should be known to everyone? Not necessarily. For example, Cell or some journal which has got the highest impact factor, but then how many of us have seen this thing? But whereas you take BMJ is 5 or 6 or something 8. But then BMJ everyone knows, the brand name everyone knows. So the popularity, a journal may be very popular. At the same time, remember that the impact factor doesn't mean that it is going to create real lot of impact. That is, it is going to produce lots of changes in the, say, practicing this thing, methods or any this thing. For example, if something is published in BMJ, though its impact factor is not high, it may even change the government policies. Okay, it may create ripples. Some controversy published in BMJ, it may even create ripples, not only in UK, I mean the worldwide. Yeah. Whereas, I mean, something which is published in a very high impact factor journals like Cell or something, well, it is not going to create a lot of impact because, of course, Cell is a purely research journal. And all of you are aware of the impact factor and other things, or how impact factor is calculated. And simply it means, I mean, the journal article is cited by, okay, the articles published in the journal is cited by other researchers. So that is a communication between researcher to researcher. Let us say, for a journal, let us say two journals, A and B. A has got an impact factor of 5. B has got an impact factor of 30. That means if we publish in an impact factor of 30, in a journal with impact factor of 30, your paper has more chances to be cited by others. Reach, whether it's national or international. So where do you want to publish? It depends on your work. Suppose, I mean, your work is relevant only to India, say Indian public, or Indian researchers, or Indian, say doctors, then you would like to publish in a journal, which is in India, which is a popular journal in India. Or otherwise, I mean, if it is, I mean, it will be useful worldwide, then you may choose journal from a journal of international repute. Then print, electronic, or both. So which one will you go for? There are journals now which are only electronic. I mean, they are published in only electronic format only. They don't have any print journals. There are some journals they go only print, yet to go electronic. But now there are many journals which are print journals. They have web presence also. That means they publish simultaneously. They publish their article on the web. They have their own website and then publish it. So which one to go? Well, again, to the decision. There are sometimes the electronic journals may be very fast. So yeah, what they do is they send it electronically. Everything they process electronically. I mean, the reviewing, everything. The entire thing is processed electronically, and then it can. There is no, with the electronic journals, okay, the web journals or electronic journals, there is no fixed printing. I mean, no publication time. So once your article is ready, it will be published. Whereas the print journals, I mean, you can see in print only in a fixed month. Say the journal may be published once in a month. You send a article now, you may be seeing only, even if the article is ready by November 15th, you will be seeing in print only in December, because that is the next issue. Then open access, whether to go for open access journal or whether to go for a non-open access journal. Open access means, well, this is the movement, I mean, now which is gaining momentum. The articles are made free. That is, anyone can access the articles. They can get it for free. They can distribute it for non-commercial purposes. You should allow that. You cannot say that, I mean, no, you cannot allow for any, if you want to sell it, then you cannot publish it in an open access journal. Okay, that is, no one should be, this thing is, I mean, the open access, why, I mean, it came into this thing is, the journal prices are going up. And many of the third world countries, poor countries, they are not able to get the journals. That means they are deprived of the information. They are deprived of the information. So the information gap, okay, there's a digital gap or information gap is becoming very wide between developed countries and the underdeveloped or developing countries. So that is why, I mean, this open access movement came, and they say that, I mean, no, this information should be available free for anyone and everyone. And of course, I mean, this can be misused. Say pharmaceutical company, they can get information free, and then they can use it to promote the drugs or whatever they want to this thing sell. But that can be prevented. I mean, there are methods, ways to prevent even if a journal is open access. So open access means, I mean, your article can be accessed by anyone. It can be distributed by anyone for non-commercial purposes. So that is what is called open access journal. There are lots of open access journals. There is a website called Directory of Open Access Journals. If you see there, I mean, it is listed. And these journals, the criteria for this journal is, as soon as the print copy is published, they should make their contents available on the web to be accessed by anyone and everyone in the world without any restriction. Of course, you have to register free. Registration should be free, and you should be able to, I mean, that is allowed. Registration, I mean, you can keep some registration. You have to register it, but then after registration, it should be freely available. DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals, DOAJ, www.doaj.org. And also there is a site called freemedicaljournals.com, freemedicaljournals.com. How to prepare the manuscript? Follow the instruction to authors meticulously. This uniform requirements, say if you go to each journal, I mean there are lots of journals, thousands of journals, and each journal has got its own instructions. Say you use this font and this size and this many pages, double space, 1.5 space. There are so many differences between one journal to another journal. Suppose you send it to one journal, it rejects, and if you want to send it to another journal, then you have to sit and change the formatting. Formatting, a whole lot of formatting you have to sit and change. So to avoid this, so what they brought in was this uniform requirements. The uniform requirements, if you go to uniform requirements, they'll tell you how to prepare a manuscript. And if a journal accepts that uniform requirements, then you don't have to bother about the in-house style of the journal. So that is how, this was brought in. And check the elements, type of manuscripts you are submitting. Say Timrod format, because the Timrod format is not followed by all journals. Some of the journals, some biomedical, suppose if you say most of the medical journals, they follow Timrod or Imrod format. But some biomedical journals, they do not follow. For example, Nature or Science, Nature. If you see, they start with results. The article typically starts with results. They don't start with methods or this thing, they start with results. And finally, sometimes they give methods as the last part. Results and discussion may be the first part of the journal. The methods will come in the last part. But then most of the medical journals, remember that most of the medical journals, they follow Timrod format. They start with introduction, methods, results, discussion. Okay. So double check figures, tables, and use checklists is available. So before sending the articles, you better double check figures, tables, and use, there will be checklists. Sometimes journals will give checklists, you use those checklists. And you carefully go through the limitations for papers submitted under each category and do not exceed or violate them. Okay, what are this thing? I show you an example. Oh, these are the limitations which I have published for Indian Journal of Pharmacology when I was a chief editor. So here we say that, if it is this thing is a research paper, say RP is research paper, somewhere it is given here, research paper. Research paper, the abstract should not exceed 250 words, keywords 3 to 5, and then running title. You give a short title, short running title, it should not exceed 50 words, and the text should not exceed 3,200 words. Subheadings, standard subheadings, which means, Timrod. Standard subheadings, and total of figures, tables and figures, both inclusive, I mean it should not exceed 6, and number of references should be equivalent to or less than 25. If it is a review article, it can go up to 100. If it is a letters to editor, the references you should not exceed 4. So these are the limitations which you are given. So you see whether the journal has stick to you some limitations, then you follow that. And use a checklist. The checklist, I mean, generally, I mean, says that no, there should be a cover letter. How to write a cover letter? I mean, that's also, I mean, they will give some instructions will be given. What should cover letter contain? Okay, you should talk about your paper. Sometimes the Western journals, they are very particular. You should tell them about, shortly tell them about what your paper is about. And copyright statement signed by all authors, and 3 copies of the manuscript with illustrations. That is, if you are sending, I mean, if they are asking for print copies, then they may be asking for 3 copies of manuscript with illustrations. Title page, what should the title page contain? Title of the manuscript, full names and affiliations of the authors, institutions and the cities from which the work originated, name and address and telephone and fax numbers. This is very important. Remember that, suppose, I mean, suddenly they want to contact you, you should have, I mean, the telephone number, fax number if it is available, I mean, at least telephone number you should give. The numbers and email addresses of the corresponding author, the fax numbers and email addresses, the number of pages and number of figures and number of tables, this should be, ideally this should be mentioned in the first page. Then abstract, it should be in a structured form along with the title, keywords and running title. Article proper, it should be double spaced. Generally, I mean, of course, I mean, the journal might give, and some journals might give a different instruction. It may be 1.5 line spaced. And acknowledgement should be a separate sheet. Generally, acknowledgement, they ask you to acknowledge in a separate sheet. And references, tables, then figures and photographs and legends, permission to reproduce published material, if any. So this checklist, I mean, now, of course, Indian Journal of Pharmacology gives this kind of checklist. There are other journals which give checklist. That is, before you dispatch your manuscript, you go through the checklist, you see whether all these items are included in your this thing or not, in your package. I mean, before you post it, before you put it in an envelope and send it to them, you see all that or they are not. Because sometimes it is missing. I mean, many times, I mean, this is the case. Say, we will get a bundle of this thing and then finally if you see, no, photographs may not be there. Okay. Photographs may be missing. So if you use a checklist and then tick it, it is unlikely that you will be missing something. Well, let us see something about peer review process. The manuscript may be submitted by mail, paper copies. Okay. But still there are journals which ask for paper copies. Okay. There are many journals now which accept electronic format, either by email or off website. You can submit by email in electronic format, or you can submit through online, just online. Online, I mean, you go to their website and you will be uploading your article. But remember that there are still some journals which ask for paper copies, especially the Indian journals, the many Indian journals which ask for paper copies. The editorial office, then there is something called screening. They will start screening your manuscript. They look for scope, whether it is within the scope of the journal. Say in Indian Journal of Pharmacology, we will see whether it's a pharmacodynamics work for pharmacokinetics, or it is adverse effects. Say something, I mean, whatever scope we have defined under instruction to authors, whether it is within the scope or not. Sometimes we get articles of pharmaceutics or let us say pharmacognosy. So immediately what we say is, I mean, this is not suitable for our this thing, you please send it to some other journal. Then structure, whether it has got the proper structure or not. Whether, say Timrod structure, whether it is a full research paper, whether it has got a full Timrod structure or not. Then also formatting, whether it is correctly formatted or not. Whether the pages, I mean, double spacing and all those, whatever instructions we have given, whether it has been correctly formatted or not. So this is, I mean, the contents, screening the contents. You screen the contents, whether it is plagiarism, I mean, to detect plagiarism, as well as to avoid duplicate publication. Because there have been lots of instances where authors have sent papers which have already been published. either part of it or in whole, they would already publish in some other journal, and then they this thing. I tell you one incident. There was one paper. So once the screening, I mean, this kind of scope structure and everything was over, then I sat down at the night and then to see whether it has already been published or not. So in the PubMed, well, didn't say anything. I mean, I couldn't find anything. The Google picked up an article which was published in Turkish Journal of Biology. Okay, this thing, I mean, the titles were very similar. Luckily, the Turkish Journal of Biology has got a website, it's got a full paper. Of course, from the Google Scholar itself, I mean, links were given. I just clicked, I mean, the whole article got downloaded, PDF format. So when I saw that, the same data have been used. Whatever they have submitted, the author has submitted article, and the same figure, the data as well as the figure, has already been published in some other journal, that is Turkish Journal of Biology. Turkish Journal of Biology, I mean, it is not an index journal. It is published in some corner of the world. So author thought that no, I mean, it is less likely it will be detected. But what happened was the Google Scholar picked up that article, and then it was very clear that, I mean, no, the author has duplicated. The author was trying to duplicate the work, trying for duplicate publication. When I asked for explanation, I mean, author didn't have any explanation, and then I had to reject the article. If article passes screening, then what we do is, I mean, we select some reviewers. There will be peer reviewers, that is those who are working in the field, and mostly 2 in number. There are some journals, they send it for 3 reviewers. Okay, because they say that majority, they go by majority decision. Okay, we send it for only say 2 in number, and also initially we give 3 weeks time. If the reviewers, they don't send it within 3 weeks, then we will extend it another 2 weeks. All articles peer reviewed? Do you think all articles should be peer reviewed? Not necessarily. Some of the articles, I mean, need not be. Suppose, let us say, I mean, letters to editor, I mean, may not contain any data. Some letters to editor may be of general nature, which may not contain any data. Those articles are not peer reviewed. Only the research data, I mean, if an article contains some research data, those articles are sent for peer reviewing. Articles of general nature, sometimes some readers, I mean, some contributors, they want to publish editorials, or something of some views. So those things are not sent for peer reviewing. Then, once it comes back from the peer review, the editorial review starts. So the editorial board, one of the editors will go through the comment. It scrutinizes the comments. Sometimes some reviewers, they write very, very bad comments, very offensive comments. Oh, the author is a fool. This kinds of comments. Author is a fool. Author must be a fool. Otherwise, I mean, no, he would not have written this article. Okay, that kind of comments. Those kind of comments, what we do is, I mean, those offensive comments, we remove it. Offensive comments will be removed, or it will be modified in such a way that, I mean, it doesn't offend the author. Because these comments have to be sent back to the author, so those comments will be removed, and we'll send it to some statistician. Suppose, I mean, it contains some statistical analysis. We'll send it to statistician to scrutinize whether whatever the statistics has been done is correct or not. So based on this, a decision is taken. So sometimes a decision may be revision. See, most of the time, 99% of the articles are not accepted on the first time. Accepted on first, when you submit it the first time, it is not going to be accepted. It will be sent back. Most of the time, there will be some flaws or some clarifications. So most of them it is sent back to authors. Or say, if the editorial board is not satisfied, then it will reject. The referee's comments are not favorable, and editorial board also finds that, I mean, it is not worth proceeding further, then it will be rejected. So then it goes for revision, then revised MS is submitted. When the revised MS is submitted, revised manuscript, the manuscript gets revised and sent to editorial office. Then revised MS is submitted. Then again it is sent to one of the reviewers. Say out of the 2 reviewers, again it is sent to one of the reviewers with all the comments as well as the explanation, whatever explanation given by the authors. So again 3 weeks time is given. Then based on the comments, reviewers' comments, the decision is taken. Either it is again sent for revision, or it may be rejected, or it may be accepted. If it is sent for revision, then again the process continues. I mean, again revised MS, one more revision. If it is okay, it will be accepted, otherwise it will be rejected. So how to revise a manuscript? Style of the manuscript, consult your senior colleagues who have considerable experience in biomedical communication. Okay, language is a real big problem. Language is a real big problem. Sometimes, the content may be really good, but then the language may be atrocious. Okay, I'm not saying that we have to write some, the style and this thing, language, is followed by, British, the native English speakers. No, but then at least we can follow some standard. We can have some standard. So that is what we expect. But then some of them, okay, we cannot blame the authors also, because the training may be such that because it is not our first language, I mean, it's not our mother tongue, English is not our mother tongue, and our training in English may be very poor, and we cannot help it. At the same time, the journal cannot accept an article which is not written properly. So what we do, what we suggest is you consult someone who is experienced in biomedical communication, some seniors, who can write really good language, who can use really good language, who has got some good language skill. That is, so when it comes to editorial board, editorial office, and we find that, the explanation is missing for some query. So that may be a very important query, but if it is missing, then this thing going to be rejected. If you feel a comment or suggestion by the referee is incorrect or unacceptable, you may state so in your reply explaining the reasons. The editor will take the decision. Remember that finally it is the editor who is taking the decision, not the reviewer. Well, this is about our journal, IJP. Well, it doesn't expect authors to abide by all the suggestions and agree with all the mistakes pointed out by referees, because referees can also make mistakes. It acknowledges the fact that referees too commit mistakes. Such comments and suggestions must be replied. If you feel referee is wrong, you write it, you boldly write it and send it to editor. Point by point explanation is a must. I show you one editor or reviewer friendly model by which you can explain or answer the queries. Suppose these are the comments by the referee. Abstract is not structured, conclusions not given. Now you can modify the abstract, you can say that abstract is modified and structured, conclusions included. So similarly, whatever comments given by the referee, you can give some explanation. Say ANOVA instead of t-test should be used to analyze the data statistically since more than 2 groups are compared. Agreed, data were reanalyzed using two-way ANOVA with the Tukey-Kramer post-test. Authors have failed to state the LACNOA in the study. So they have listed under discussion. See here, authors have used the method of Rao and Gupta to analyze something, but now the authors, they do not agree with the suggestion of the referee. We do not agree with the referee. Recently it has been pointed out that this method is equally useful, reference enclosed. So with reasons, you say that you can contradict, you have every right to contradict the reviewer. Well, remember that calling for revision does not guarantee acceptance. Manuscript not revised satisfactory will be rejected. This is one misconception the authors used to have. Once it comes back from this thing, say editorial office for revision, they think that once you revise it, whatever you do hereafter, it is going to be accepted. No, it is not so. It may not be accepted. If you haven't revised it properly, it is not going to be accepted. And also one more thing, when confront the editor or editorial office, they say that, see, one referee has given a very good remark, other referee has given a bad remark. So why don't you consider the referee has given a good remarks? Why do you say that, why do you reject my article? This is this thing. Remember that referees do not make decisions. They make only suggestions to the editorial board or editor, chief editor. They cannot, referees will never make any suggestion. They may recommend. Sometimes they say that accept the article. That may be there, sometimes they say accept the article or reject the article. No, this is only a suggestion. Whether reject an article or accept an article, it is by the chief editor or the editorial board only. So now what are the common reasons for rejection? One is out of scope. It may be a too small a volume of data. Sometimes you submit an article for full research, full length communication, full research paper. Okay, full research paper means, the volume should be good enough. But no, you have done very little work and then say that no, you submit it, you print it, print it as a, no, you publish it as a full research paper. So the no editor is going to accept it. You will say that either you will reject it or you will say that no, you publish it as a short communication. You send it for short communication or even a letters to editor. So if it again, sometimes now the volume is too small, even it doesn't qualify for letters to editor. So those times it will be rejected. And work, if it is too preliminary work, again no one is going to accept it. And poor language and style, it is one of these things. Say if the language is too poor and style, and no, it will irritate the chief editor. Editors or editorial board. There will be, say, too many spelling mistakes and no, it's not written properly. Too many grammatical mistakes. They simply, they will say that no, first, the initial screening itself, it won't even go to any reviewers. Initial screening itself, it will be rejected. And major methodological flaw. Even sometimes, no, the referees might point out the method is totally wrong. Method is so wrong that these conclusions cannot be accepted. So if the methodology is wrong, nothing can be done. It cannot be salvaged. So that time, it is rejected. Then poor presentation. Sometimes, this thing content may be good, but if it is not presented in a proper way, it may be rejected. And low priority work. Sometimes, no, whatever you have done, work you have done, it may be of priority to the journal. Okay, journal, say, we may be interested in publishing pharmacodynamics work. If you do a real pharmacodynamics work, we will give priority. But then at the same time, if you've done something, very, sorry, I cannot get example this thing, but if our priority is low, then if possible, we will publish it, otherwise, we will reject it. Then repetitive work. Suppose the work is already published. Again, again and again it is repeated. No, it is repeated 100 times and we are coming to same conclusion. Why should we publish it? Repetitive work, we don't publish it. Then unethical publication practices. If you committed any unethical practices, it will be rejected. It's not going to be published. Well, now it comes back to your this thing. You published, you submitted a paper. That manuscript has come back from the editorial office. Now, how are you going to react to it? Say out of scope. The author says, the editor says that no, it is out of scope. So he is asking the author to say publish it elsewhere. So what you do is, you send it to a suitable journal. Don't get angry. You send it to a suitable journal because clearly it is out of scope. No journalist publish it an article which is not within their scope. Too small a volume of data. What you do is you do more work and you can resubmit. And you can say that, no, say previously I submitted, you said give me this comment, now I have done more work, now I think, no, it may be acceptable to your journal. Work too preliminary, okay, submit to a lesser category or no, do more work and submit. Suppose, if you say work is too preliminary, then you ask the author, editor to accept it for letters to editor. It's a preliminary work, okay, that is okay. For letters to editor, preliminary work is okay. So I ask the editor whether it can be accepted for letters to editor. Then poor language and style, you have to consult some experienced people and then you have to correct it. Poor presentation, then again you have to consult someone who is experienced in biomedical communication and rewrite the whole thing. Then major methodological flaw, and if you agree with that comment, then you have to redo the whole study or you have to dump it. That's all. That's the end of the work. A low priority work, you send it to another journal. Sometimes for some journal it may be low priority, for maybe some other journal it may be an important work, you send it to another journal. Then repetitive work, what's the point in publishing repetitive work? Does anyone, do you think anyone would like to publish a paper, publish a work which says that paracetamol is an analgesic in mice or in rats or in elephants? No one is going to publish it. No one is going to know what kind of work is that. You maybe suppose, there are some compulsions that you have to do it. Okay, this is an extreme example. There may be other examples. Okay, there are some compulsions that you have to do the work. Better don't publish it. Just keep it in your files. Then unethical publication practices, you had it. Okay, our experience is, if any, we have a SOP. The Indian Journal of Pharmacology. In fact, we published it also in editorial. Now, what we will do? Suppose you submit, you have committed some unethical practice, okay, unethical act. Whether, there are two things. One is major and minor. If it is a minor, I mean, we will ask for explanation for anything. We will ask for explanation. Say you committed this, 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 this. What is your explanation? We will ask the author. Author, I mean, the explanation is satisfactory. It is okay. Sometimes, I mean, no, it may be, it may be the explanation may be such that, I mean, no, they really, I mean, no, can we let off with a warning. Suppose if it's a major this thing. Once we received a paper, which we sent it to referees. Luckily, I mean, now the referee was in USA, and then he said that this paper, verbatim, word by word, from title, from the title to the end of the this thing, end of the paper, it has already been published in Journal of Psychopharmacology. He sent us the full, I mean, the paper which has already been published in another journal also for comparison. It's all, it is totally, except for authors, everything is a total copy. It's a copy, verbatim. It is copied verbatim. So what we did was we tried to contact the authors. But the thing is, I mean, all the names were fictitious. We contacted UK. There are some authors from UK, one author from USA. USA we couldn't contact. The company, I mean, we couldn't contact. The one author from India. So we contacted, I rang up the company. I mean, not the company. I mean, it's an institution. I rang up the institution head and then asked him, such and such person, I mean, is in your department? He says there's no such person. So this kind of things can happen. See, once you publish it, once the author has published it, I mean, then someone will write it. Okay, such and such paper has already been published, verbatim it has been reproduced. So this, not only, I mean, embarrassment, again, if the Journal of Psychopharmacology, they want to sue us, I mean, they can go ahead and sue us. They might ask for compensation. So it's a severe problem, this kind of problem, the unethical practices, I mean, they can land the journal as well as the editors into severe trouble. And sometime back, I mean, one of the institutes in India, they submitted a paper. So what we did was, I mean, send it to referee. Referee said, I mean, he suspected, I mean, it has already been published. The data has already been published, I mean, this is a duplicate. So what we did was, we wrote to each author. Say, I mean, this is a referee's comment. What do you say about this? One of the authors then immediately wrote back, say, I have nothing to do with this paper. I will never write this kind of low quality paper. Now, how can you use my name? He wrote a very nasty letter to me. Then I rang up, I spoke to the corresponding author also. The corresponding author says, I mean, he was my guide and he said, he said it was okay. I discussed with him. He told me to send the paper. Now I don't know why is he disowning it. I don't know all these things. I mean, this kind of, see, the editorial office, the editors can get into severe problems because, I mean, this unethical publication practices, not only the authors, but the editors can also get into severe problems. Okay, this is not one or two experiences, well, I had many experiences like this. So if you feel your manuscript is unjustifiably rejected, do not hesitate to contest the decision of the editor and ask for re-review, okay, citing solid reasons. So if the editor, I mean, if the editor says that, I mean, your paper is rejected, doesn't mean that you have to accept it. Okay, if you feel that paper is really good and you want it to be reconsidered, we want the paper to be reconsidered, well, we always mention it. When we send a rejection letter, there is one paragraph which says that if you feel that, I mean, this the wordings will be there. If you feel that if it is unjustifiably rejected, please, with the reasons, you again submit the paper again. You have to give reasons why it is not, you are not accepting the decision. If reasons are good enough, then we will send it to third reviewer and we will consider the third reviewer's comment, then only we will come to a decision. There are papers which have been rejected, which authors have contested. After that, I mean, it has been accepted. It's all, well, this all will happen if the editor is a bit democratic. Okay, if there's an autocratic editor, nothing works.
So one question I have is,
yes, sir.
Like we have in the Creative Writers Forum, Progressive Writer Forum, All India Writers Forum in literary world,
okay,
we have that. Do you have in the scientific world like Writers Forum which could take up the issue with
editors, with
autocratic?
Why not? WAMI. There is one thing called www.wami.org. You go to this WAMI. If you want to have any complaints also, you can do it. www.wami, W-A-M-E, World Association of Medical Editors org. You can see, you can get lots and lots of material from this. If you want to complain about a journal, of course, the journal should be member of WAMI.org. Okay, most of the Western journals are members of this WAMI org. WWW-WAMI, it is called, it is pronounced as WAMI. W-A-M-E. World Association of Medical Editors org.
Sir, my
sir,
question is...
sometimes there is a problem when the paper is sent to the same institution where the author is working. So then if the author is not in good relation with the reviewer, then it creates a problem.
Referee?
Yeah.
You mean referee? Yeah.
Yeah.
In that case, what you can do is, when you are sending to editor,
Okay.
you can mention that, please do not send it to these reviewers.
Okay, this can be done.
Got this group, because these are rival groups. Okay, please do not send it, do not send for reviewing. That you can mention.
Okay.
And also, you can suggest reviewers. But then it doesn't mean that they have to, send it to same reviewers. They can send it to another reviewers.
Okay.
But you can suggest, at the same time, you can exclude the reviewers also.
Okay.
You have every right. Thank you very much.